Hello and welcome to episode 94 of VIP Boxing's Bell to Bell. It's out on VIP Boxing YouTube. Subscribe to that. Leave a review. Fantastic. Also find us on iTunes and Spotify. You know me, Steve Lillis, and you know John Evans there in his Chicago Bears. What is it? NFL helmet. I don't know these American sports, and it's a proper poster behind him anyway. So we'll give him that. Even if he's not, American football's not a proper sport, but there you go. Anyway, that's for me to have my opinion, and everyone disagrees with me as usual. Anyway, look, a special edition of Bell to Bell this weekend or this week. Special guest is unbeaten Liverpool cruiserweight Nathan Quarless, the nephew of the 1980s. Liverpool lip himself, Noel Quarless. And instead of doing 6 rounds, there's a subject we're going to talk about at the end there when Nathan wants to share his story, and it's going to be worth listening. We'll ask a couple questions, and anyone's listening might get some help from this if they are suffering with this. I tell you, we'll call it an illness because it is an addiction. But we're going to talk about that later on. Anyway, first of all, thanks for coming on, Nathan. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, you?
Yeah, I'm great. Is it 11-0 now?
11-0, yeah.
Yeah, so how's your injury clearing up? Is it clearing up? Are you going to be back in March or April? Because, you're getting closer to maybe a Central Area title fight. I think that title's vacant.
Yeah, I had the operation on the 23rd of September or the 26th. I've been going through my rehab slowly, and I come out my sling last week. My arm, I can almost straighten it fully, so I reckon I've got another 3 weeks until I can start punching on it again.
Yeah. So when do you think you'll be back in the ring?
I'm hoping March, some point in March or early April, and then get that fight out the way, and then push on for big fights like we were looking for before the injury.
Hey, yeah. Nathan, I've probably worked on most of your fights on VIP, and you've always looked like you've had you've probably listened to it if you watch them back. You've always looked like you got that little extra touch of class and ability than a lot of prospects who come through. And at cruiserweight, you'll move quickly, won't you, once you're fit and active? When you're watching these people like Jack Massey getting into big fights now, how far away do you think you are from people like that?
Well, I was hoping, to start pushing on. After the M&S Arena show, I was supposed to fight Michael Webster, 2 unbeaten lads, and obviously the one who won that went on to the bigger things, but obviously that didn't work out, something to do with his injury, and so we ended up fighting Tony Vlasic instead, which was still a good win for me. And that we were supposed to move on after that fight, and with the injury now, it's put me back, but we're still going to be looking. Me and Woodsy spoke the other day. Summer, we want to look for big fights. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I tell you what, we'll crack on talking about a few little topics. Now, is there anything else you wanted to add there, John? Sorry.
No. It's just cruiserweight. It is a division that's wide open, isn't it? And at the minute, it's one of the most exciting and entertaining. It used to be a bit of a afterthought, didn't it? Cruiserweight, for people who can't make heavyweight. But in the last few years, with the Super Series, with Coley, with Chamberlain, with Bill and Smith, it's a popular division, and there's big money and big opportunities. So Nathan looks like he's got the ability to make a bit of an impact if he can just get some momentum going.
Yeah. And you know what, John? Also, I was about that domestically, but for the last 25, 30 years, it's been one of the most exciting divisions globally. Oh, yeah. It's been a procession of wars. It's been a fantastic division. As you know, my favourite, Carl Thompson, was a cruiserweight, the most exciting British fighter of the last 35 years, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind. I absolutely loved the cat. What a fighter he was. What a fighter. You talk about fighters, John, being matched. I think something like his 3rd fight, he was fighting Crawford Ashley when they were both novices. That's how people were matched up then. But anyway, we're not gonna go back to the 80s. John, first I want to talk about your pal Denzel Bentley against Janabek. I don't know if you've spoken to Denzel since the weekend.
Spoken to Denzel, yeah.
How is he?
Messages. Absolutely gutted. That's how Denzel is. He's not one of these. Denzel, you've spoken to him. He's not one of these people who's taking the positives from it. You know, he did well, and everyone thinks it was a brave attempt. Well done, Denzel. You can come back from it. He's absolutely gutted that he lost. He thought he went over thinking he was going to win. Now, last week we spoke, he had a mountain to climb, didn't he? And we were wondering how he was going to do it. And I tell you what, you can be proud of people, you know, and very proud of the way Denzel approached that. I thought he boxed brilliant, boxed out of his skin. And he might not be coming back to England with a world title belt, but he's coming back a world-class fighter. Yeah. And I thought it was brilliant, Denzel.
I don't know if you've seen the fight at all, Nathan, but something John touched on that Denzel's told him. And, you know, John does speak to Denzel, and John are quite close. So what he says to John certainly won't be, you know, just for the sake of it to speak to a journalist. When Denzel says, you know, he doesn't want to be known as the unlucky loser. That's something you're identified as a boxer, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I did watch the fight. I watched it. I did watch it this morning. I think the other fella, he picked up an early lead, didn't he? But he come back strong, and you know what? He's got to hold his head up there, and he's shown that he is on the world level. I enjoyed the performance, and he was unlucky. You know what I mean? He adapted halfway through the fight and started causing the lad problems, and you know, I thought it was a really good performance. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, you look
back from Marcus Morrison.
Well, I was going to say, and I look back.
I look back fighting there in Vegas against the most feared middleweight on the planet. And like we said, we asked John Pegg how he'd approach it, didn't we? Because we thought this is an impossible task. And fair play to him, he did it. Brilliant. He did it exactly like Nathan said then. Halfway through, he just thought, "Fuck this! I'm behind. We've got to turn it round." And he did. And like the last 7 or 8 rounds, he got the better of it.
Yeah, you know what? Also, I look back now, he had that shootout with Marcus Morrison for a round or so before he really got on top. And I think, how did he lose to Felix Cash now? You know, I'm not saying lose to Felix Cash, but be absolutely taken apart in 3 rounds. I mean, whereas Felix has not struggled, he hasn't displayed that form since. You know, but there you go.
Well, it's an eye-opening result, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's one where, you know, you wonder that, you know, look, it just shows in boxing, it isn't like a lot of sports. Because someone blasts you out in 3 rounds, it certainly doesn't mean that someone else is going to, and that's part of the drama and love of boxing, really. But look,
Nathan, can you imagine what it takes, you know, from being a boxer, from coming up at domestic level, and all of a sudden you get offered a world title opportunity against the best in the world? Can you put yourself in that position? Like, Denzel didn't think twice about it. He said, I'm fighting.
Well,
what's that mindset?
He showed balls there. He showed massive balls, just from British level to straight to, you know, no European title fights, no, you know, on the fringe world level. He went straight in. And you know what? I take my hat off to him. He put up a great fight, and he's shown what level he is.
Have you sparred any of these real good fighters and noticed that difference?
Yeah, I've sparred. You know, I've always been around decent sparring camps, even from like when I very first turned over. And you know, you don't half learn a lot from, you know, the likes of Hughie Fury, Marty Askin, and people like that. You do notice the difference. It's crazy when you first look on as well. When you first turn pro, how fit some of these lads are. And I used how, you know, from like the Furies, and for my last fight was supposed to be a 10-rounder. I used the experience I got from them and see how they sparred, and I brought it into that camp. So, you know, it doesn't half help you being around, you know, world level fighters.
I'll tell you what, and hopefully John might be able to persuade Denzel to come on the next couple of weeks. I don't know whether he's going on holiday or anything, or whether he's off to buy his house in Battersea now. But I'm going to leave you tasked with that one, Mr. Evans, to try and get him on again.
Yeah, we'll get Denzel on, yeah.
One guy who did remain a world champion this weekend, Sonny Edwards, retained his IBF flyweight title against Felix Alvarado. I had the fight pretty close, but it doesn't mean it wasn't a brilliant performance from Sonny, because I think, you know, what people say, you know, he was getting pushed, but in the latter stage of that fight. But you know what? He beat a really good fighter the other night, and I think that I've got nothing but credit for Sonny. That performance I thought was wonderful the other night. It was absolutely brilliant to beat someone like Alvarado so handily. Did you watch it, John?
Yeah, I did. It was typical Sonny for a few rounds, wasn't it? But then Alvarado put it on him.
Yeah.
He definitely won a few rounds.
Oh, I had it 7-5 at the end.
I've seen people say it was a masterclass and Sonny proved himself. It wasn't. You had to see a different side to Sonny there. He had to bite down a little bit because there was times on the ropes he was getting clipped. And it wasn't the singing, dancing, moving about Sonny, was it? It was a gritty, proper world-class fighter. And yeah, full credit to him there. It was a good fight as well.
You know what? If he can get Martinez and Bam Rodriguez next year and beat them both, that really, if he come through both of them, I think it would really set his stall as an elite world champion. I mean, I know not everyone loves Sonny. I like him, but you know, he knows how to sell himself. I don't know. What's your opinions of Sonny Edwards, Nathan?
Yeah, you know, I didn't catch his fight on the weekend, but you know, I like him. I think he's a good boxer, and I tend to like boxers because, you know, I'm not like a brawler type fighter, and he's silky, and you know, he moves around the ring well, and I enjoy watching him, and you know, he always shows his class in the fights, and he's quite funny on Twitter as well. So I don't mind him. Yeah.
You wouldn't take him. You're taking any cruiserweight, but you wouldn't take Sonny Edwards on Twitter, would you?
No.
No, he's absolutely unbeatable, isn't he?
He's unbeatable.
You can't beat Sonny on Twitter.
And I was really pleased with that. I thought it was a really pleasing performance the other night from him. And I just want to see what happens the next 12 months with Martinez and Bam Rodriguez.
Hey, Nathan, can you give the people who are watching this, you know, Sonny's he got clipped more than normal at weekend, but give the people at home an idea of just how difficult it is to do what Sonny does, where he can go 12 rounds and not take a clean punch, can't he? Just how difficult is that for the people at home?
No, yeah, it is. It is difficult. You literally got to be switched on from the off. Literally switched on. Every punch, every little twitch, and I try and do it myself. When I boxed Collins, I was, you know, coming into rounds disappointed. I was getting caught too much, and you know, it is literally so hard to go even sparring or fighting. How much skill and timing goes into not being able to get it.
I mean, it's just such an art. Than these guys, these great fighters who know when you throw a punch, they know you're missing by a centimetre. How they can read it. And I think I've said on this podcast often when this sort of topic comes up, John, you've heard it. When Michael Jennings fought Miguel Cotto. For the first round, he was in there. He got caught by a jab and he was seeing a few stars. But he said, well, I thought, I'm okay here. I'm throwing my punches and I'm missing by the barest minimum amount, even though he's popping back. Give me a round or two and they'll be catching him. Then halfway through the second round, it dawned on him, this guy, you know, I've been beating good guys, but this guy has read me where my punches are going to go. It's absolutely, you know, it's only great fighters that can do that, I think.
What? One of the things that made me laugh, I spoke to Mike about that night and I said, the typical question, you know, you lost, Mike, but what an experience when you look back, you know, Madison Square Garden, Miguel Cotto, it must have been incredible. And he went, no, I hated every single second of it. He said, I got beat up and we all wanted to kill me. He said, I hated it.
Like, mate, it was, as I said before, it's one of the night that always stays me in boxing that I've been at. I was there, Nathan. And what it was like, not John, it was the Irish middleweight who was on the bill, who lived
was it John Duddy?
John Duddy, an Irish middleweight. So you've got Madison Square Garden full of Puerto Ricans, an Irishman, and there's an Englishman coming out to box against the Puerto Rican idol. Can you imagine what it's like? And then he has Anarchy in the UK by the Sex Pistols as his ring walk music. It was nasty in there. It was nasty, and I think a few of his family or his friends weren't treated too well in there either. But just one fight we'll have a quick speak about before we go on to Nathan's subject tonight. John, Liam Davies, Inout Baluta, European Super Bantamweight title this weekend. Tremendous match, isn't it?
Yeah, really good. I spoke to Liam the other day. He's a good lad, Liam. He knows it's going to be a good fight. He thinks he's the underdog, Liam. You know, he's not. When I spoke to him, he didn't come on saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. He said, I'm the underdog and it's a good fight. Liam looked really good against Mark Leach, didn't he?
Yeah, surprisingly.
Really good. He looked like a proper British champion who could go on to another level. But Miss Baluta, he gave Michael Conlan hell, didn't he? He's beat Oliver Joyce. He's a right handful, and you know he's going to come for it. So Liam's going to have his hands full. But I thought Liam looked like a fighter on the rise against Leach, and I expect him to probably win.
You know what? I wasn't sold on him until the Leach fight. I thought that night Leach would win comfortable. Really fancied him to win big that night, but what do I know? But what you might have noticed there, Nathan, when John says I was speaking to Liam, he speaks to everybody, this guy.
Yeah.
John Evans, he speaks to everyone, doesn't you, mate? Eh? But honestly,
is Liam Davies a good name to drop?
Hey, mate,
would it get in anywhere?
He could be European Super Bantamweight champion. So in the space of about 8 minutes on this podcast, you've been speaking to Denzel Bentley since his world title.
Michael Jennings and
Michael
Liam
Jennings.
Davies,
yeah. I don't know whether you and you must probably going out with Sonny Edwards. You're going to tell me next.
I'll tell you what. Someone who not Nathan might have, I don't know if you sparred with him or not. Someone else I was speaking to, who looked really good at weekend. David Adelaide.
Yeah, I have sparred David, yeah, a while back down at...
What do you think of David, Nathan?
He's a powerful lad, isn't he?
Yeah.
Powerful lad, yeah. It's a couple of years ago now when I can't remember who Huey was fighting. But yeah, we only done a couple of rounds. It was more like get 2 rounds in after you finish sparring Huey, and they were good rounds and I enjoyed them. You know, you got someone, I'm the boxer and, you know, he's the powerful heavyweight. So it was good trying to like do my thing as well as obviously him doing his thing. But again, it was all good experience, and I think that's when it gets tough, you know, you look back at spars like that and realise that you can go through and do what you want to do.
Yeah, you speak of David there, John. One thing, I think it's the last 2, maybe 3 fights, he's really improved, hasn't he? Whereas people were unsure about it, and he's now looking, you know, he's long way to go, but he's now looking across a heavyweight who could do well for himself out of the sport.
Yeah, but he fought a foreigner, didn't he? And
the guy in the
and could have lost the decision.
Yeah. Sosolowski.
But what a good win that is early in your career.
Yeah.
But yeah. On Saturday, Adelaide looked really good. He looked big. He looked aggressive. He looked fit. I thought he looked the part on Saturday night.
Yeah, he's for real. Well, he's looking for real anyway. But we'll kick on, and we want to talk something that Nathan come on the pod to talk about. You know, you may have heard about it, read about it, but I want to talk to you about issues you've had, Nathan. And you're going to share your gambling story with us about addiction.
Yeah, I had a gambling addiction, battled through it for a few years. It was what wants to come on today, just to, you know, if anyone else who's listening has any problems or like they were in the same boat with gambling, you know, to seek help. And you know, I got help, and it changed my life and probably saved my life as well. But it started when I was like 17. Just like as the usual, you know, young lad throwing your little accumulators on, £10 there, £5 there. And then just when I got to about 19, it just like, I had like a series of big wins. And, you know, from the big wins, it just like took over from me. Then every waking minute was just gambling. As soon as I get paid at like midnight, I'd either win money or I'd lose, you know, the whole lot. And it was a battle through that for a fair few years. And it wasn't really till I hit rock bottom in, I think it was 2018, you know, I thought, you know what, I've got to change now. I can't keep, you know, living like this. I think I'd done like 14 grand in 3 days, and I was earning £1,000 a month at the time. So it was crazy. Spoke to my mum and dad about it, and end up getting help from Beacon Counselling Trust, and went from there. And then when I thought, I'm in a better position, you look at boxing and you see how much it's heavily advertised by, gambling sponsors and stuff. I thought, with me being a boxer and stuff, I felt I had an obligation to try and get my, voice out there, and, any way I can, even if it was just one person I could help. So I started doing a little bit of work with Beacon Counselling Trust, and done a couple of events, like speaking in front of like 100 people. And then the last one I done was about 2 months ago for the Merseyside VRP, and done a speech in front of about 150 people. And I enjoy doing the speeches because I know it can help people, and I don't mind sharing my story, as painful as it can be, as long as it can help other people. I'm not don't really care about sharing it.
So where was you getting when you said you did £14,000 in 3 days and you was only earning £1,000 a month? Where was you getting the money from? Credit cards, that sort of thing, loan sharks?
At the time, it was payday loans, yeah. So like you'd lose your money, and then you could go on your phone and go on Wonga, and then 30, 40 seconds later, you got the money in your bank. So I just literally blitzed the Wongas, blitz me overdraft, and just try to keep winning me money back. And obviously it never goes the way you want it to go, do it? So I just end up in a massive hole.
You know what?
When you said you spoke to your mum and stuff about it, did they have any inkling, or had you managed to keep it secret, Nathan?
Well, I'd spoke to them previously about it, like the year before, and I had stopped for the year, and it was when Cheltenham was on. That was like usually like the hardest part for me, because I love the horses. But then because I was betting on the horses, I was also betting on the casino, and that's where I'd do the most damage, was on like the roulette and stuff. So when I told them, it was like I'd already told them the year before and I had the relapse. So I proved to myself that I couldn't do it on my own. I had to get help from professionals, and obviously because I'd let them down and let myself down, I thought it was the best way to go about it. And I've been doing well the past few years, and I only would have got there if I would have spoke out.
Crazy, isn't it?
Did have you managed to pay all the money back now? Are you still in debt?
Yeah, I paid it back. I think I end up in about 7 grand's debt. After doing the 14 grand, it was like wins and losses, putting it back in, and then paying stuff off. I think it took me around about a year and a half to pay it all off. So I'm in a good place now, and boxing's starting to take off for me as well. So the worries of the past and stuff are gone, really. So I feel like I'm in a good position to share my story at any time I can.
Can you sum up the weight that's off your shoulders, Nathan? How do you feel every day now compared to how you did in 2015 or something? Can you even compare it?
Yeah, well, I'm happy most of the time anyway, unless someone does me head in. But when I was gambling, it was weird, because you sort of become a bit of an actor on the sly. You put a mask on as soon as you get up, and you're trying to make, you're trying to be like the lively one in the room, or the jokey one, because you don't want people to think, oh, what's wrong with him? Why does he look upset? So you sort of put a mask on through the day, and then when you get in bed, that's when or when you're on your own, that's when you start, thinking about or like the bad things that you wanted to do to yourself. And I'm just glad that I don't have to go through that anymore, because it was hard, and little bits of anxiety, depression and stuff, and it wasn't good for I think I was like 22 at the time, and they're like the best day, the best days of your life. You're still young, you should be enjoying your life and stuff. And I had a big rain cloud over my head.
Yeah, and it's funny because you talk about that with gambling, with advertising in sport. There was a VIP show the other day on Sporty Stuff TV, which John commentated on for about 6 hours, and I worked on. And a week beforehand, Tyson Fury said he would not do an interview for Sporty Stuff there on the night. When we asked through Jimmy Harrington, a good friend of his, he come back and said, I'll do something for VIP TV, whatever. I won't speak to Sporty Stuff because they're backed by gamblers. And he won't have it. And whenever he's been approached for gambling sponsorship sort of thing, he's refused every single one because he's so anti-gambling. Tyson Fury. Now, whether he's been there or experienced it, I don't know, but it's something he doesn't go around publicly saying, but he feels really strong about gambling and advertising in sport on that. But just want to ask you something here. I was someone who went through alcohol issues and AA. What do you say to this, Nathan, when drug addiction and alcohol addiction is seen as an illness? Do you see gambling addiction as an illness along that path where you need the 12-step program?
Yeah, I do think it is an illness. I think because it's not like a physical, you can look at someone who's got an alcohol, who's an alcoholic,
or
and go,
drug addiction,
who's drunk, you know what I mean? Or when someone's got a drug addiction, you can see it physically on them. But with the gambling, it's not. But you are addicted to a substance, which is dopamine, which is, which your brain releases itself. So you're addicted to a chemical that's in your own body. So I do think it's an illness, but I also, in my personal opinion, and this might not be for everyone, but I would never give up and say, not give up. I would never say, oh, I'm not at fault because I've got an illness. I always thought it was me who done the bet. It was me who pressed the buttons. It was me who got the loans. I always took full responsibility for it, but I do think it is an illness as well. Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. Well, I'll tell you what, Nathan, you've done unbelievable, haven't you, to get yourself a pack. I can't imagine it. I know Steve's spoke about things he's had before, and I'm lucky I've never been involved in that, but I can't imagine, like I just said, the weight that's off your shoulders and going about your day-to-day life having beat that. It must be crazy.
I love hearing these shares from people because I've been there, and I just always love hearing the shares. And when you said you wanted to talk about it, I said to John, let's forget the usual and just do this tonight. I just want hearing your story. Sorry, I rudely interrupted you there, Nathan.
No, that was me. I was just saying it's my first ever pro day. I think it was the pro debut. I think it was in the BT Convention Centre.
Yeah.
I think I got paid on the Saturday, and I think Cheltenham was the following few days. So 2 days later, my first ever fight purse got put in the bookies.
Yeah. Did you stop betting after that? How many of your fight purses went to the bookmakers?
Just that one, yeah.
Yeah.
That was in 2018 March. It was, yeah.
So you've been if you stopped just after that, you've been, shall we say, clean for 3 years.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So do you go on one day at a time as your belief as well? Like if someone says to me, will you drink again? I always say, I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I just get up in the morning and know I'm not going to do it that day.
Do you know what? I did do that for a while. And then I think about a year in, when I was getting the help and stuff, I started struggling mentally, not being able to live my life the way I wanted to, because you spent the past 4 years gambling. So my life was always up and down. And then just being able to live on the straight and narrow, I should say, I really found it difficult, not having any real ups and downs. And that took me a while to figure out how I wanted to feel and stuff. So by the end of it, instead of counting my days and saying, oh, tomorrow's I'm going to do this, I totally sort of blanked it all out. And that's not to say I blanked, I don't think I have an addiction to do. I still have my barriers in place. I still have my gam stop. I still have my gam ban. So I have everything in place, but in terms of like waking up, I don't wake up and think to myself, oh, I'm Nathan, I've got this, and right. I feel like for me it was better if I just try and sort of forget about it, and it's worked for me. And I know from people I speak to in the gambling world, you know, everyone's different. Some people know the day and the hour of when they stop betting. I couldn't tell you the day I stopped betting. Really? I never kept track of it. Yeah, so I think everyone's different, and how they recover, and how they look at things. And obviously, you know yourself, you might be different to me.
Yeah, I'm a little bit. Yeah. I know the exact. I always say when March the 9th comes round every year, I always say it's the only birthday that matters. Because if I didn't have that birthday, I wouldn't be fucking have the great things I got in my life, like 2 kids. I won't be wishing my daughter off to Australia next week. You have things like that, but I do the one day at a time, and it just shows all addicts got their own way, and it's what works for you.
Yeah, definitely.
John, is there anything else? Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
That was me again.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add, John, before we...
No. It's one of them things. There's nothing I can add to that. You two know it better than anyone, but no, he summed it up well then, Nathan.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Well, Nathan, thanks for coming on tonight. I hope you've enjoyed sharing
I have, yeah.
Your story. Because I always enjoy talking. You know, people ask me, I always talk about it and feel, I don't know, get a strange feeling afterwards. It's all I don't know what it is, but you I don't know what it is, but you feel different afterwards. But it's brilliant. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll get you on in a few months and we'll talk proper boxing then, 3 minutes each round. You've been a tremendous guest tonight, and it's really good that you've shared, and I hope you get something out of it. And John, thank you as ever, mate. Although I think the first half it was your show, John, and the second half. But John, can you get hold of Denzel for us next couple of weeks?
Give him a text, yeah. See what he says.
But John, thanks very much as always for coming on tonight as my co-host. Most of all, thank you to Nathan for being a brilliant guest, and thank everyone who's watching. And if you have got an issue like gambling, alcohol, you can contact me on booze. And if you've got a gambling problem, just find Nathan on Instagram. I think you're on Twitter as well, aren't you? And I'm sure
I always try and point people in the right direction, yeah.
And he'll put you in the right direction. But thanks very much, and thank you, John. Thank you, Nathan.
For all boxing info, news, and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.